of Liberians in and out of Liberia by sharing their successes, challenges, entrepreneur endeavors, and much more with the intent to inspire other upcoming changemakers. The 1847 show also promotes the Liberian culture by creating a space for individuals to learn the history of our nation, to find solutions to problems that affect our country today. For this and much more, stay tuned for All Things Liberian. We'll be right back after this short break.
Lucky ball.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of Liberia and to the republic for which it stands. One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know. Listen. Mama Liberia, you will rise again. And more your friend and you will shine again. Yeah. Nobody will look down on you again. I prophesy to you, you will regain your dignity again. All hail, Liberia hill. Red, white, and blue is where I represent for sure. This New Orleans with liberty shall long be.
Hello, my name is Grace Choma Baba, founder of Destiny Creative Organization and owner at Janine's Snacks. You are watching the 1847 show. The 1847 show celebrates you, me, and all things Liberian. Follow the 1847 show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The 1847 show, all things Liberian.
We at Peace TV help your loved ones and friends to see features of your programs on all social media platforms. Our services are of good qualities and very affordable. We render the following services: still pictures, video promotion, talk show hosting, live wedding coverage, funeral services, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Book us today and have a memorable experience.
Welcome back. You're watching the 1847 show, and this is Season 1, Series 3, Episode 11, which is part of our series called Reimaging Liberia. This series highlights individuals who are rebranding the image of Liberia through digital mediums like the internet by telling the stories of not just themselves, but our country as a whole. Reimaging Liberia benefits all Liberians as our stories are told from a positive lens. As a result, Liberians take more pride in what makes us unique, and those outside of Liberia gain interest in visiting our country. As a result, this helps our tourism industry and our overall economy as it creates jobs amongst many other opportunities. Our guest today is Archie B. Rogers, who is the co-founder of Arch Media Agency. He's a young man passionate about telling the stories of Liberian entrepreneurs with the sole aim to expose their products to a wider audience. His efforts is helping to grant entrepreneurs better experiences to tell their stories and sell their products. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Rogers. How are you today?
Thank you, Prince. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome as well. Again, just for everyone to hear, thank you for accepting our invitation. You're the very first person of this series, and we're glad to have you a great young man doing great things. So thank you for being a part of the show. So some of your titles that you carry so far, you're a digital creator, a social entrepreneur, and even a writer. What else would you say you're known for, or what else would you like to be known for?
I think it's the obvious. I'm a entrepreneur, so I'm not a social entrepreneur. Although some of the work that we do, it cuts across social impact, but particularly, I love to be identified as a media entrepreneur rather than a social entrepreneur.
Awesome, awesome. So you've traveled to several countries like the Philippines, which is where you are right now, and Jordan, America, and you also go to school in Qatar. So how have you been able to take advantage of all these opportunities as a young Liberian man?
Well, I think one thing I would say it's one, be passionate, be determined, and be willing to secure whatever opportunity that comes your way. Especially coming from country like Liberia, where there are not many opportunities, I would say. And if you're fortunate, to find yourself in a position where you have all these opportunities, the best you can do is to make the most of them.
For sure. So were some of these opportunities related to your education, you trying to advance yourself as a young man, or was it just personal travel and things of that nature?
Yeah, I think what I would say is this. Firstly, if I never had the opportunity, to further my studies or to even travel from Liberia, of course, I wouldn't have the opportunity, to travel to like the U.S., Jordan, and the Philippines, and other places I've visited so far. So I think having that first opportunity, and then because the major thing is just for you to leave Liberia. That's when you get exposed to a lot of opportunities. So after I left Liberia, I realized that okay, there are other opportunities that I can also go for. So I used that as a hook, and then I went after other opportunities that were available.
Right.
But
So
overall, what I would say, it still boils down to determination and the willingness, because there are a lot of my peers, a lot of my friends who are studying out of the country. Some of them have the opportunity, but they are not, I would say, hungry. So you have to create that hunger.
yeah, you have to be determined to want that, right? So, what would you say for those maybe that might not be in the position right now that are Liberians trying to do better for themselves and their country, but are not able to travel outside of the country? What would you say? What advice would you give to them?
My advice would be you don't have to leave Liberia before you drive change within your community. There are a lot of areas that you can still make impact. It's just that leaving Liberia, it gives you the upper hand, and besides that, it gives you the privilege to, maybe that could be in terms of finance, in terms of networking, and so forth. But there are still areas, you can still be in Liberia and still do things that will still impact your communities. There are people in Liberia who are doing it, and I know a lot of them.
That's right. That's right. So traveling outside definitely, like you said, gives us the exposure, grants
Right.
us the perspective of other countries and how they do things. However, we do not have to travel outside of Liberia before we can start being those change makers that we seek to be. So thank you. Very wise words there. So you're currently enrolled at the Northwestern University in Qatar. Can you tell us a bit about your studies and what you envision to do with that degree?
Yeah, so it's interesting that the career path I took. I think this was something I shared about a few days ago. So I'm currently doing strategic communications, which is something I've never one day I've never one day crossed my mind that I would do strategic communications and media studies particularly. But like I said, it's all if you are determined, if you are hungry for opportunities, if you are willing, to seize whatever opportunities that cross your path, then whenever those things come, you obviously go for it. So I was first enrolled in Stella Maris. I was reading civil engineering, and then when I lost my mom, I decided to seek other opportunities, And fortunately for me, through the help of Smart Liberia, I'm quite sure you might have heard of Smart Liberia.
I have a question here about your work with Smart Liberia and ASIC, so you can go ahead.
Yeah, so through the help of Smart Liberia program, it's called the Educational Advancement Program. So there's this program. I'm not quite sure if the program is still running, but they had this program where they used to recruit like 12 top performing students, and they would carry you through, I think, 1 year. And after the 1 year, you read SAT based on the outcome of your SAT and the outcome of your application. You get accepted into universities. So I took advantage of that opportunity, and fortunately for me, I got accepted in Northwestern. And the funny thing, Northwestern, they only offer two majors: journalism and communication. So now I was left with not many options, but to choose between either journalism or communication. And these are two areas where have not been areas of interest for me. I've been the kind of person who have always been interested in the sciences. Like that was the reason I even went for engineering. But when that happened, I was left with no choice but to go for communication instead of journalism. But now, I think one thing I always say to my friends is this: um, you need to have an open mind as a young person, because and this is something we see that is so common. There are a lot of people out there who they graduated from a university with a degree and they're doing something quite different.
Right.
Yeah, so I think having an open mind, it leaves you with a lot of opportunities to go for, and that was just the case for me. Even though I've never thought of doing communication or journalism, but when the opportunity came, I couldn't let it go. So I went for communication instead, communication and media, and the media I went for today. The path I'm taking, of course, it tailors around the same media.
Okay. So now, do you ever see yourself going back to your original passion, or do you think that this is your newly found passion? You're just going to press forward and stay committed to this?
Of course not. I'm not. I've never wanted. The truth is, even when I was doing engineering, of course I had good grades and things, but I was not happy, to be honest. I was just doing it because I felt okay. This is something maybe I have strength within the sciences, so okay, that's the reason I'm gonna go for it. But I was not really passionate. I was just doing it for. There was no excitement.
Would you say some of those the reasons why you were doing that was because of societal pressure, like the society deems it that engineering is a smart field, so people tend to go towards those science fields so that they feel accepted by society, so that they're encouraged and they are seen as smart individuals. Would you say that's part of the reason?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons, of course. And one thing people usually say is this: if you go for the sciences, if you graduate, you make more money than people who will do journalism and
Right, you're right.
communication. But these are the kind of social construction that is affecting our society nowadays.
Right.
The fact that people believe that there are certain major, certain career path that one should take in order to be successful. I think those kind of stereotypes, I think people need to raise more awareness, against those things. You can do whatever major, and you can still be successful once you are determined and you're passionate about it.
I think one key thing you mentioned, both passion and then another word you said was happy. I was doing something, though I was good at it, I wasn't happy.
Yeah,
And I think that's something that we really need to highlight for our young people, because a lot of times in Liberia, I feel like people are caught up in careers that they don't like, they don't enjoy doing, but because their moms, their dads told them to do those things, they're pursuing those degrees, but they're not really passionate about it. So, how
exactly.
would you define passion, and how can someone become passionate from your experience?
Yeah, I feel firstly with passion, right? It goes in line with what you are good at. Because the truth is, if you are not good at something, you won't be passionate about it. So that's the first step to it. You firstly, you have to be good at that particular thing. And the second thing, you should have, a clear vision of where that thing is going to take you. So that's the next step. So the reason I was doing engineering, right? I believe a lot of people said, okay, if you go for it, it's going to take you this place is going. But it was just based on what people were saying. But I myself, it was not something that I get to I experienced to know. Okay, if I get to do engineering, this is going to be the path. So comparing this to what I'm doing now, right? Like the media I'm doing now, I've had firsthand experience. I've reached to a point where I realized that okay, doing this thing is going to make me more successful than what I was doing before, based on the clear vision I have for this whole career and the path of which I know is taking me. So the first thing, like I said, with passion, you need to know exactly what you're doing and be good at what you're doing, and of course have a clear plan of where it's going to take you. These are just some of the things that drive passion.
Very practical ways to determine passion. Honestly, thank you for that. And then I'm glad to hear that now you are in a better place as far as being happy with your career and knowing that you're serving with a purpose. That's
Yeah,
probably one of the most fulfilling things you can experience as a young person. Some
exactly.
people don't experience that until they're in their 40s, 50s, before they start to know what is their purpose or what they enjoy doing. So that's amazing. Now,
Right.
you've done a lot of work outside of the media, like you mentioned, with Smart Liberia and also ASIC. So tell us a bit about those things. And at the time, what would you say your objective was when you were volunteering or maybe working with these institutions?
Yeah, so with Smart Liberia, like I said, I was part of the educational advancement program. And that program, besides me, that program actually helped a lot of Liberians, especially Liberians who are really determined. A lot of Liberians benefited from that program. People like Emmanuel Chie, Ruth Akoli, and Sila Jikle, and the likes of, I think, I might not be able to name every one of them, but a lot of young people I know, they benefited from that program. These are people who are actually doing exceptionally well in society. With ISEC, so I volunteered with them in 2016, and 2016 or 20 in 2018 or 2016. So we volunteered on this program, on this project called, it was an agripreneur project in Nigeria at this university, University of Abeokuta. So we worked with other volunteers in Nigeria, and few other volunteers came from Gabon, I think, South Africa. So
Mhm.
work on that project. It was basically contributing to ending hunger in Africa. It's part of the SDGs. So that was the project particularly we were working on. So I traveled to Nigeria with one of my friends. He's now in China,
Okay.
and that project did expose me into a lot of great people who to how you call it. Today, they myself, we have a great network, and it was actually a great experience.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And another key thing to remember is that we have this mentality in Liberia that volunteerism, working for free or doing something without pay, it's almost frowned upon, right? And slowly our generation is changing that mindset. But one thing to know for sure is that some of the benefits of volunteerism, like you mentioned, is that you get to create a network of people. And these are
Exactly.
long lasting professional relationships that you do not know what it could lead to. And sometimes it could even land you a job, it could even land you an opportunity to serve somewhere else. But tell us a bit about, from your experience, how has volunteerism maybe helped you achieve your goals or helped someone that you know very closely achieve their goals?
Yes. So I got a marketing job. I think that was when was it? It was some part of last year doing the World Cup. No, it was before the World Cup. So I got this marketing job, and the reason why I got that job was because of that one thing I had on my resume, that I volunteered with ISEC. That was the only reason why I how you call it, got the job. And
Not even
interestingly,
because of the education that you have.
no, it was not even because of that. Interestingly, the person who interviewed me, he has also volunteered for ISEC, and he's
Wow.
now the managing director for the company that I got the job with at the time. And he told me clearly the reason you are getting this job is because of this voluntary work he did with Isaac. So the thing about it, like you said, people have this mentality. Once there's no money attached to it, once there's no financial benefit, there's no need for me to do it. But I feel those things count when some of these employees in schools, some of the employers schools, when they talk about your extracurricular activities. So these are things that they look how you call it towards. They want to see which kind of work you have done outside of the classroom. How many people you have volunteered for, which kind of organization. These are things that people can actually look for. So if you are a young person and you are turning down these opportunities, I think you are harming yourself more than you're helping yourself.
That's for sure. That's for sure. So we're almost at the halfway point of this interview, but I have one more question here for you. So as a young man, compared to your peers, both in and outside of Liberia, you've achieved quite a lot, and I'm sure it's not even your full dream or your full existence of purpose of what you're trying to achieve, but it's still something to recognize and appreciate. So, what character traits do you think has helped you get to where you are today, as far as maybe being humble, being willing to serve, volunteer, and so on?
Yeah, that's just why you just called just now. Being humble. The truth is, humility can take you a lot of places. And honestly, that was the one thing that actually made a lot of way for me. That opened so much doors for me as a young person. And like this is something I always say. You never know who's the next person you might be helping. And if you try to humble yourself as a young person, that out of humbling yourself to whoever it is might open so much doors for you that you might not even think of. And this was just the case with me when I first traveled to Doha. The first internship that I got, so I met this guy at a conference. So where they had this Qatar Economic Forum. So I attended it that day. He was sitting outside, so it was during dinner time. So I went, I sat by him, we started eating, talking from one thing to another. I'm very kind towards him, and even when his wife came, she wanted to sit, I remember. So I even gave the chair to her. He was like, "Oh, it's something you don't find happening in Qatar that much." So Pierre and myself, we talked for a while. Surprisingly, we share contact after 2 weeks through our engagement, and from the way I behaved that day, he told me plainly. He said, "I have an internship for you," and from that day, that intern with that guy, I met a lot of people. It was even through him I got to intern with the U.S. Embassy in Qatar
Wow.
through that opportunity. So sometimes you never know who's the next person you might be talking to, or having a conversation with. So you just have to be humble, be kind, and know how you talk to people around you, and how you treat people around you as well, because you might never know.
That is absolutely right. So we have some engagements in the comment section before we take our first break here. I'm going to go ahead and put the comments on the screen here. All right. So first one was Diamond Charlie. So thanks, Diamond, for staying engaged. She also commented again and said, "That's right." Apparently agreeing to something either you or myself said. So thank you again for staying engaged. And then we have Emmanuel Cooper here. And of course, he's talking specifically to you. So thank you for staying engaged, Emmanuel, and then agreeing with you as well. Also highlighting that volunteerism is very, very important. So we have to change that mindset that we have as Liberians of being the victim and not being able to give, right? So we have to be in the position to give back. And giving does not always entail money. It's also time. It's also patience. It's a lot of things beyond money. So remember that.
Exactly.
And Diamond is also saying here, humility is the foundation of all virtues. So humility for sure. That's a very powerful thing to say. So thank you guys for staying engaged. I will give the floor to you before we go on our short break. Anything you want to add before we go on a break? The floor is yours, Mr. Rogers.
Yes, so far, I think this has been a great conversation so far. And I also want to extend, my thanks to Prince for the invitation. It's actually a pleasure to be here today to talk more about myself and of course the institution. And I guess this is something we might probably talk about in the second half of the interview. But so far, it has been a great discussion, and yeah, and I'm really excited to be here.
So you're absolutely right. When we come back, we're going to be talking more about the Arch Media Agency and your work that you do with them. So what we like to do, our style of interview, and me specifically, is to talk about the individual first, right? Because without you, there won't be an Arch Media Agency. So we want people to know who you are, what you stand for, and then we go into what you do. So that's part of the reason why we're trying to learn more about you and inform the audience about the work you do. So thank you, everyone that's watching. Please stay tuned. And if you're not following the 1847 show, Mama Labro is watching you, so please make sure you do like that.
Ah, lucky ball.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of Liberia and to the republic for which it stands. One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know. Listen, Mama Liberia, you will rise again. And more your friend and you will shine again. Yeah, nobody will look down on you again. I prophesy to you, you will regain your dignity again. All hill, Liberia hill. Red, white, and blue is where I represent for sure. This rural land of liberty shall long be for all of.
Hello, my name is Baba, founder of Destiny Creative Organization, and owner at Janice's Snacks. You are watching the 1847 show. The 1847 show celebrates you, me, and all things Liberian. Follow the 1847 show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The 1847 show, all things Liberian.
We at Peace TV help your loved ones and friends to see features of your programs on all social media platforms. Our services are of good qualities and very affordable. We render the following services: still pictures, video promotion, talk show hosting, live wedding coverage, funeral services, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Book us today and have a memorable experience.
Hey, welcome back. I'm your host, Prince Larmin Jarbo, and this is season 1, episode 11, which is part of our series called Reimaging Liberia. The series highlights individuals who are rebranding the image of Liberia through digital mediums like the internet by telling the stories of not just themselves, but our country. Our guest today is Archie B. Rogers, who is the co-founder of Arch Media Agency. His efforts is meaningfully aiding to standardize the creative media industry. So thanks again for joining us, Mr. Rogers. How has your experience been so far?
Am I audible? My
Yes.
microphone is
Mm-hmm.
okay. Good. Yeah, I think it's going well, and And yeah, I'm actually glad to be here to continue this discussion.
Awesome, awesome. So now we're going to talk a bit about your work, what you do specifically with Arch Media Agency. So prior to the establishment of the institution, what would you say you noticed about the creative industry or the media industry in Liberia that you felt a need to change?
Oh, so the truth is there are a lot of problems. There are a lot of challenges, and it's something, of course, which I understand one person cannot solve it all. And one of those problems has been the fact that there are a lot of local talents, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of creatives in Liberia who have amazing stories, and oftentimes these stories go untold. So this was the problem we saw, and we said to ourselves, this is something we can address in our own way. We don't have to have all of the money, all of the talent, all of the expertise, but there's a way we can put heads together, come over idea that we address this problem, and that was exactly what we did.
Awesome. So you guys specialize, like you said, in retelling the stories of entrepreneurs and small businesses. So what has been the most fulfilling part of doing this? What have you seen that has changed the industry by you telling the stories of these people, or what impact is it having on these people?
I feel the most fulfilling part of this is the fact that we are giving hope to these people, telling them that there is still a platform, and you guys can always share your story on our platform. And of course, the work we have featured so far has come from a very diverse background, and particularly most of these people we feature on our platform, these are people you'll be surprised. A lot of people in Liberia, they have amazing stories. But unfortunately, with all of the platforms we have in Liberia that that is known to promote Liberian culture, Liberian talents, you don't see these people these people their work, and even they themselves feature on these platforms. So the fact that we are giving these people hope, telling them that there is still a platform where you can showcase your work and even talk more about yourself, and of course that's something we've been doing for the last 1 to 2 years.
Awesome. Awesome. So you guys offer a lot of services. Some of them include graphic design, live stream, creating documentaries, and so forth. So what else do you do that maybe for those that are watching that could benefit from the services that you provide? What do you do, and how can they get in contact with you guys to take advantage of those things?
So one thing that we feel a lot of brands have not gotten to the point to realize is the fact that each brand has a unique story to tell. So this is something that is part of the services that we offer. So we try to tell each brand story in a very unique way. And to be honest, this is one thing we have managed to build our strength upon storytelling. So for a lot of businesses, for example, within Liberia particularly, initially when we started, we were working with some businesses in the US, some small businesses in the US that,
Mhm.
that Liberians, but realized that this is something we can do within our own community rather than going outside of Liberia. So
Right.
for businesses, be it whatever business it might be, so help tell their story in a very unique way, and this is something we have been very successful doing.
So, what is the intention of that? Let's take a small business, for example, right? Are you targeting businesses that are maybe struggling or businesses that are doing well, or maybe a mixture of all? And then what are you doing? What do you intend to do with that story that you're telling?
Yes, so we usually target small to medium sized businesses, and with and now since we are growing, of course we are also targeting NGOs, corporations, and also government agencies. But that's where the issue with this whole pricing thing comes in. So yes, what we usually do, and I feel this is one thing that sets us apart, ahead of our competitors. is the fact that most of these clients or people that we work with, we are not just solely basing on profit. Of course, we want to get money. Of course, the work that we do, of course, we want profit, but we're also looking at the social aspect of it, right? We are also looking at how we can empower our community. And one way we feel, that has been lacking over time has been storytelling. And the truth is, for a lot of these brands, particularly for NGOs, some of the NGOs that we have worked with over the last few months, a lot of them have gotten to realize the importance of storytelling. With storytelling, you can sell your brand in a very unique way to. It could be your customers, it could be investors, it could be partners or whoever. So the kind of story you tell out there, that will actually enhance the legitimacy of your brand. So if you are telling a very unique and compelling story out there to people, people start to take your brand to be something that is brand that is, how you call this, very serious. Like the NGOs we have worked with over time, a lot of them, they are doing a lot of great work, but they have not been, creating story around the work that they've been doing. So often they want to tell people, we are doing this, we are doing that. But if you can show people what you are doing, then it makes sense.
So some of the
And that's
questions I
exactly,
have, not to cut you off, go ahead.
now I was saying, and that's exactly what we have been doing over the last few months.
Awesome. And some of the questions that I have just right off the bat is storytelling. Like you said, I understand the significance of it and the impact that it can have on people. I just want to, I'm thinking now as a small business, let's say I'm interested in working with you guys, right? But I'm really an expert in my field, which my field has nothing to do with storytelling. So, how do you guys assist me to take the story that I have and make it into something compelling for other people to maybe come on board and join in our efforts? Are you helping them draft or write those stories in a way that is compelling? Or are you saying, hey, just tell us your story and we'll just record it and we'll share it on the internet for you? So, how exactly, what level of help are you providing these small businesses?
So this was something that I said initially, right? Like,
Mhm.
all small businesses, they have their own unique story. So, and one of the major challenge has been the fact that a lot of these local businesses, they are not well equipped with the necessary skills to create a creative concept. So, before we even film any project, so we usually do a creative brief where we tell you how the project is going to come up, and this is what you should expect. But to do that, we do more like a consultation. So we usually have a consultation with the client to know, because although we want to help you tell a story, but you are the best person that can tell your own story. So we are just creating the visual component to whatever you will want to put out there based on the kind of impact that your brand is making. So that has been the problem working with most of these local brands, to create that concept, the creative, how you call it, how you call it, development.
Mhm.
So most times we work with them and we do it from scratch, help them, based on what their brand has been doing. So we look at that, then we come up with a story around what the brand has been doing. And most often when we do that, it usually turn out to be great.
Awesome. So is this a one time, let's get together and do this and tell this story, or is this something reoccurring that you guys try to come back and maybe retell the story or give an update to the customers or followers? How do you guys do it? Do you understand
Yeah,
what I'm asking?
yeah, I actually get what you're trying to say. So,
Go
like,
ahead.
okay, if I go what you said, right?
Mhm.
So most often for some of these videos that we produce, right? If we often go back to do another video,
Right, to
we
follow up and see maybe something has changed.
Yes. So, like I remember this guy, he reached out to us. I think it was like a few days ago. So we did a mini documentary. It's on YouTube. This guy, he came up with this process. I think he got the idea from a German corporation or a German company, and he funded this local NGO. He's a Liberian. So what they are into, so there is this process called desalinization, where you extract salt from the sea to produce safe drinking water.
Hmm.
So that similar thing that he's into, he and his team. So we did a mini documentary on the work that they are doing, and I was even surprised. One of the guy who reached out to us recently, he said it was from that documentary he saw. He reached out to the CEO of that company to support the work they are doing.
Wow.
Yeah, that was why he told me. He even sent us Instagram message that was like a few days ago. So he wanted us to do like a follow up story. So since that time, there's been some development. So they
Of
wanted
course.
us to do a follow-up story on what's been happening and how they can gather support and funding as well. So always is always good because as the brand progresses, there will always be update, there will always be improvement. So it's always good, for every milestone, it's good to tell people, how the brand is
Capture
doing.
those moments. Yeah.
Right.
So now let's talk about two things: affordability and profitability, right? So affordability for a small business in Liberia, a lot of time finances is, if not your number one, your number two concern. So how affordable is it for people to take advantage of these services that you provide?
Yeah, so that's one of the issue we have had over time. The truth is, a lot of Liberians, particularly small businesses, it's just recently they are actually getting to realize the importance of videos or of visuals. So if you try to charge them, mostly they will be like, "Oh, it's too expensive," and the truth, a lot of these businesses they use that as their competitive advantage. Yeah, and at the end of the day, they mostly won't really give them the kind of quality content they expect, or the quality video they expect. So that has been our issue. But since we realized that there are a lot of factors we took into consideration. One, the fact that we are new in the market, even though we have gotten a lot of validation, but still, the fact that we are new in the market, and also the market that we find ourselves within, like how many Liberians can afford this thing? How many Liberians can afford that thing? So what we did, we created like a segment group.
Hmm.
So for example, the way we would charge NGO is quite different from how we would charge us, maybe your local business, because these are two different group of people you're working with.
Correct.
Right. So, and I feel that strategy has been working, and it's something that I will actually advise that.
Let's talk real numbers, for example. Let's take a nonprofit organization, right? I'm interested, I'm a nonprofit, and I want to create a documentary about since the inception of our organization, how far we've come, what are the works that we've done. And to give you an estimate, it takes about 15 minutes or 20 minutes for this documentary. What are you charging me?
Yeah. So, it's good that you even talk about the length of the video, because
Mhm.
that's something we also take into consideration. And, people more often people think that producing a video is just audio, but most of the work is done doing the post production, which is the editing part of it.
Right. Hmm.
That's where at times most of the work is being done, and particularly with documentaries are usually costly, right? So for small businesses, but right, the minimum price should be nothing less than 500 for small businesses. That is, if we are already negotiating, it shouldn't go below 500, because
And
the
that
truth is,
USD we're talking about, just to make sure that other people hear it, right?
right,
Yeah.
USD. And the truth is, often these videos, right, people use it to get fundings, and based on the way you would tell your stories, anybody, if they see that video, they will be impressed to support the work you're actually doing. Yeah, so we actually know the importance of these videos. That's why we mostly charge that amount. But again, the society we find ourselves within, you know, you have to consider the fact that not everyone is making that much. So
Right.
of course so from our part, that has been a kind of challenge,
Hmm.
but I think it's something I actually getting there gradually, because it takes time. If this is something we're doing in the US, of course, even if you charge someone 2 to 3 thousand plus for a 5 minutes documentary, they won't
They'll
complain about
understand.
it,
Hmm.
right? But like Liberia, if you tell someone to pay you $1,000 for 5 minute documentary, then it becomes an issue. So these guys are expensive.
for good reasons. And I will say too, I 100% understand where you guys are coming from. I've seen the work that you've done, quality of videos, and part of the reason I even started following the platform before I even came in contact with you is the production. It shows quality. It shows that you guys know what you're doing. When I see those guys with the cameras and video recorders, like you trust that they know what they're doing and they're going to produce something amazing. So yes, it might be pricey, but you're getting a quality product that you can be proud of, that your brand can stand by, and so on and so forth. Also, kind of ties into what we were just talking about, affordability. Now we want to talk about profitability, right? So how profitable has it been as an institution, only been around for about 2 years? As far as sustaining yourself, how profitable has it been?
Yeah, with the video production industry, right? Besides Liberia, even globally, this is a market that has been rapidly growing. And the truth is, in Liberia, there are not much competition within that area, particularly. There are not much competition, so I won't lie. There's a huge profit, but with that profit, it comes with a lot of responsibilities because often working with these clients at times it gets hectic. And the good thing about it, that's why you see me, I'm actually excited of the team that we have. To me, my partner Jerome, who is also one of the co-founder, Emmanuel, who is the manager, Roland, and the rest of the guys, they have actually been working tirelessly, to make sure that we satisfy our client, because that's one of the most important thing, client satisfaction. So if you are making the money, clients are not satisfied. Like I always tell people, one of the best marketing anyone can do is to satisfy the client, because that person will go out there and will tell another person about how how you guys can coordinate yourself. And that's a word of mouth marketing.
Yeah.
And this is something we have been doing. And to answer your question, coming back to it, there's a huge profit within the video production industry, particularly with the work we are doing, because when we first started, I think it's good that I actually talk about this a bit.
Hmm.
um, when we first started, although we had a name media agency, but people often get confused whenever they hear the word media. Media, like I always say this to people, media is basically the plural for medium. So when you hear the word media, there are three things that comes to mind. You have the infrastructure, you have the institution, and the heart of it, which is content. So with the infrastructure, basically that's like the physical and technological resources that support the media production, distribution, and whatsoever. And the institution, that's more like the policies, censorship, and so on. Then the media itself, which is the content part of it, which we are into. That's the content part of it that we are into. So we try to specialize particularly in one thing, which is documentaries. But then we realize that there are still areas that we can still, try to work towards, like highlight videos, like commercial videos, and so on. But there are not much competition. This is one thing I would say. In Liberia, the competition, it's kind of less. But
At least
there,
for now, right?
right, for now, yeah, for now, the competition is actually less, but there's a huge profit.
Awesome. And then thank you also for explaining the, media and and the concept of that. So let's talk a little bit about now. One of the things, the reasons why we exist as a show is to show not only that people are doing great work, but also how is it benefiting our country. So tell us a bit about employment within your institution. How many young people, either on a part-time or full-time basis, how many young people have you been able to employ or empower? It might not be by giving them a salary, but also through education and so on.
Yes, so as of now, we are about 10, 13, yeah, 13, including Jerome and myself. So in Liberia, we have a team of 11 that Emmanuel, he's the one, I'm quite sure you have probably interacted with him before, Sagasha. So he's the one serving as the manager. So this is one of the problem in Liberia, the issue of empowerment. When we first started this work, we started basically on a voluntary basis. all of the guys who joined us. It was first Emmanuel who joined us. Emmanuel used to dedicate his time to the work we were doing. And you know, the way we started this whole thing, it was quite funny. So we started interviewing people using our smartphones. So that was how we started this whole thing. We used to go out there, you know, rent part of the restaurant space. So at times the guy used to use this place, Fusion, I think one other restaurant. So he would usually go there, Emmanuel. He would usually go there interview local business owners. So we
Hmm.
interviewed few people was doing fashion business and so forth. So as we move further, we decided to bring few more people on board because we realized that okay, you know, there's a need for us to expand, and the only way we can expand is to also increase the workforce, increase the team. So we brought few people on board, and they were all passionate. This was the one thing that actually struck me: the fact that all these people who started working with us, you know, all these young people, energetic, you know, these people who could be, you know, focusing on something else. They decided to, you know, let go of all those things and dedicate their time to do free work. I think that's the best way to put it.
Hmm.
To do free work when we started this thing. It was recently we started giving compensation. Uh, and you know, for me personally, I'm still impressed of the fact that although we are giving compensation which is not really anything much, I would say, but they are still dedicated, you know, they are still committed to the work we are doing. So this shows that people we are working with, they actually believe in the vision.
Hmm.
And this is the one thing that actually, you know, keeps me going: the fact that all of these guys we are working with, you know, they believe in the vision, and you know, they are actually seeing great thing coming from what we are doing. And the fact that we are all working together, you know, to drive change within our community, you know, it actually impressed me a lot.
Awesome. So a part of a vision, starts with the founders, right? So you're one of the co-founders. So tell us a little bit about how you co-founded it with Jerome, you said, and how did you guys come up with the name Arch Media, not entertainment, but agency? So you guys, the Arch sounds very similar to your name, Archie. So tell us a little bit about how that name came about.
Yeah, so Jerome, I said we've been friends for quite a while now. He's a great person. He's someone who I recommend to anyone. You know, the best person to work with. He's very understanding. So we started this thing about 2 years ago, and we used to attend this Bible group. So this day I reached out to him. I was like, "Oh, bro, what if we start, you know, doing something?" Because I realized that he was into similar thing, this kind of content. He was also creating content, and for him, he was more driven towards the advertising side, and for me, it was more like the marketing side. Yeah, so we started talking more and more, and then I think it was in September 2021. I think it was September 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So September 2021, we started to run this YouTube channel. Initially we were doing post-production content. Yeah, so the YouTube channel initially it was called Ash Media House. So I had that name actually on an Instagram page that I was running, more like a personal brand.
Hmm.
Yeah, so when we started the YouTube, we started doing post-production content. At times he would do a content and send it to me. We both would work on it together, share it on YouTube. So we realized that the kind of content we're doing, you know, it was not ready um getting somewhere.
Hmm.
Yeah. And to be honest, right? For me, I was just doing it just for as a habit. More like, okay, let me just find something to be doing for the time being. I'm quite sure with Jerome initially, he was also doing it just, you know, more like to care time doing something.
Yeah.
So when we both started working together, it became serious. So it seems like this thing we can take it to another level. Yeah. At the time, we already had the name, the Ash Media House already, because that was more like I said, like a personal brand. I started already on an Instagram page that I was using
Copy.
uh before, right? So we just renamed it. The YouTube channel we're using the same Ash Media House, And to be honest, someone even asked me the same question. They were like, "But you and Jerome running the page, why is it your name?" To be honest, when the person asked me that question, that was when it actually occurred to me. So I was like, wait a minute. I honestly didn't think of it. And the fact that, since we started this thing, Jerome, he has never, brought it up or say anything. Uh,
Speaks a
uh,
lot to his character too.
Come again?
Said that speaks a lot to his character for not even caring about what is named. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. A couple of times, sometimes I can actually want to bring it up before when we used to have this kind of discussion. But I feel Jerome, he's a very understanding person, to be honest. And since we started working together, there has not been a day since we had an issue. Things has been going smoothly. He has been 100% supportive towards the work. And the good thing about it, he share the same way I share into the vision. And I think that has been the one thing that has been keeping us going.
Awesome. So we're coming towards the end of this, and here shortly we're going to give you the platform to say your last remarks here before we conclude. But I just want to come again, come back to the comments here and share some of what people have been sharing. Um, so we have Emmanuel, thank you again, and Diamond as well. Thank you guys for staying engaged. And we'll have another Prince, Tegley, so Arch Media Agency. So thank you guys for staying engaged. And then we have Jerome. Is this the Jerome that you're talking about?
Yeah, that's Jerome.
Awesome, awesome. So he's also following as well and watching you sell the brand. So good work, guys. Thank you everyone for staying engaged. Now, the last question I have for you before we give you the stage to make your last remarks is I saw another Facebook page called Arch Media Entertainment. So tell us a bit about that. Is it different from the Arch Media Agency, and what are the goals and objectives of that?
Yeah, so the Ash Media Entertainment, right? That was it's part of the brand. So that was the idea we came up with some part of this year. So that was mainly like trying to showcase entertainers, because like I said, those we started showcasing, they were mainly entrepreneurs. So realize that there are also musicians, there are comedians, there are other entertainers out there that we can also showcase their work. So the idea initially was to promote these people songs on our platform, and they get a percentage from whatever amount that will be earned from that song. Because one thing we did, we were able to create a couple of YouTube channels and monetize them. So realize that, okay, since we have these channels that are monetized, we can work with some of these artists, like create a platform where when they produce their videos, we share on the platform. Whatever amount that video earn, they get a percentage of that amount, and we ourselves get a percentage from that amount. So that was the initial idea. But it's just that most of the work we are doing, things got very intense. Yeah, we had a lot of clients coming in, so we couldn't really focus on the brand.
Awesome. That's a good problem to have, though. Have a lot of clients coming in is a good problem to have.
Yeah,
Usually it's the opposite, but that's understandable. I'm sure you guys are going to get to it whenever time permits, for sure.
yeah, right.
So, so now, just some more recent comments here. But the floor is back to you, Mr. Rogers. Any last words for anyone watching? Anything you would like to say, maybe to a young person that was yourself at one point that is trying to do better in the creative industry or just at life in general? What do you have to say to them, and any last remarks?
Yeah, so I think this is just a few of my passing comments. So you don't have to leave Liberia before you make impact in Liberia. There are a lot of areas in Liberia, that needs you. A lot of areas. There are a lot of challenges, that has not been solved, that has not been addressed. Most of these challenges, there's a way that you can also contribute towards it. And with Ash Media, so one of our goals, is to empower a lot of young people. And gradually, this is something we are moving towards. We are hoping to bring a lot of young people who have the talent, who have the skills, and Besides, empowering young people, we are also looking to partner with any brand out there, be it local business, small businesses, medium businesses, corporations, government agencies, and NGOs. So we are looking to partner with you guys. Few months ago, I think a few months ago, during the voter registration process in Monrovia, we partner with Nemo to produce this civil education video. So we are not just looking towards how you call it civil society groups. We are also looking towards, like I said, NGOs, small businesses. So even if you're selling what's the most local kind of business? Even if you're selling cold water, right? And you feel your brand, your brand is driving impact, we can help you tell that brand story. So we are open to work with anyone. We are Ash Media Agency. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We are more active on Facebook nowadays since we realized that that's where most of our Liberian audience are. So you can connect with us on any of these platforms, and we will be willing to work with you. Again, Prince, I want to say thank you for having me. This was a great discussion. I really appreciate the invitation.
Of course. And then one last way to end this, as far as your closing remarks, is to talk about your favorite quote. So that quote reads, "Do not confuse movement with progress," and is by Denzel Washington. So, what does that mean to you as an individual? How have you not confused movement with progress in your life?
Yeah, I think it's kind of self-explanatory. Let me just bring this to your career. At times you might think that you are progressing, right? But the truth is, most often you might just be moving. So most often it's good to take a step back and see what are the areas you are lacking. To see what are the areas you need to do better, because like I said, most often we are just moving, we are not making progress. And making progress, it entails a lot of things. It entails impact, and like I said, this is something that I'm deeply passionate about. Making impact, be it big or small. I've always been passionate about making impact in whatever way I can. And the fact that I can work with the team that we have to make impact within our community, this brings me a lot of joy. So, like I said, do not confuse movement with progress, as stated by Denzel Washington. So, this was a statement he made in one of his remarks during, I think it was Harvard graduation or something.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Rogers. And that pretty much concludes our show today. You've been watching the 1847 show. I've been your host, Prince Larmin Jarbo, and this was season 1, episode 11, which is part of our series called Reimaging Liberia. The series highlights individuals who are rebranding the image of Liberia through digital mediums like the internet by telling the stories of not just themselves, but our country. To watch upcoming episodes of our show, please don't forget to follow us on social media at the 1847 show. That's including Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time, God bless you and God bless Mama Liberia.